In the heart of Texas, where faith filled the air like summer heat, there lived a man people once called God's chosen leader. His name was Pastor Robert Morris. He was known for his calm voice, his warm smile, and sermons that reached into people's hearts. His words didn't just preach, they healed. Robert wasn't born into fame or fortune. He built his life and his ministry from the ground up. His dream was simple: to create a place where broken souls could heal, where the lost could find peace. That dream became Grace Fountain Church. In the beginning, it was humble, a small group gathered inside an old rented building. The carpet was worn, the lights dim, but Robert's words carried something rare: hope. He spoke about forgiveness, about second chances, about how God's love never gives up. And people listened. Within a few years, what started as a handful of believers became one of the largest megachurches in Texas. People drove from hours away to hear him preach. Celebrities attended quietly, donations poured in, and Grace Fountain Church became a beacon of light. Pastor Robert Morris was no longer just a preacher. He was a movement. To his followers, he was a miracle worker, a man anointed by God himself. But behind the sermons and smiles, something darker was waiting, something that would destroy everything he had built. Started as whispers. A few church members began to notice strange things: closed-door meetings, late-night counseling sessions, and special attention toward certain young followers. Still, who would dare question the man of God? Whenever doubts arose, they were silenced. "Don't speak against the Lord's anointed," people said. "That's just the devil trying to divide the church." But the uneasiness grew. One morning, an anonymous letter appeared at the church office. It spoke of sin behind the pulpit, of a darkness hiding under holy words. The letter was dismissed as lies and jealousy, but someone leaked it online. Within days, the media got hold of it. Suddenly, the once unshakable image of Grace Fountain Church began to crack. And though Pastor Robert smiled every Sunday, his eyes betrayed tension. The whispers were becoming warnings. Then came the woman who refused to be silent. Her name was Emily Carter. She had been a loyal member since childhood. When she first met Pastor Robert, she was only 14. Her family was struggling, and he became her mentor, her spiritual protector. He told her she was chosen, destined for something great. But over time, those words turned twisted. He blurred lines between faith and control, between prayer and manipulation. Years later, Emily realized what had really happened. The man she trusted had taken advantage of her. The pain haunted her for years, until one night, watching another survivor speak on TV, she found the courage to come forward. She walked into a police station trembling, crying, but unafraid. "It's time people knew," she said. Her story exploded across the media. Some called her brave. Others called her a liar. But for the first time, the silence surrounding Pastor Robert began to crumble. The following Sunday, the church was packed. Some came to defend him. Others came to see if the rumors were true. Cameras rolled. Robert took the stage, looking smaller than usual. He took a deep breath and said, "These are lies. The enemy wants to destroy what God has built. Don't let darkness win." Some in the crowd shouted, "We believe you." Others walked out quietly, their faith shaken. His wife, Linda, sat in the front row, motionless. Her eyes were blank, somewhere between disbelief and heartbreak. Outside, chaos erupted. Protesters clashed, reporters shouted questions, and members argued with each other. The church that once united thousands was now a battlefield. And though Robert kept preaching, the weight of guilt began to show in his trembling hands. The man who had once built bridges of faith had now divided his own flock. As police began their investigation, truth started unraveling like threads from a torn robe. Former staff and volunteers stepped forward with chillingly similar stories: manipulation, fear, and inappropriate spiritual counseling. Then came the financial evidence. Investigators discovered that church funds had been quietly redirected to personal accounts. Robert claimed they were ministry expenses, but receipts revealed luxury hotels, private retreats, and expensive jewelry. And then they found the journal, hidden in his desk drawer. Page after page revealed a man haunted by guilt and delusion. "The man they see on stage," one line read, "is not the man I see in the mirror." The journal spoke of temptation, shame, and a struggle between light and darkness. It painted the portrait of a man who had lost himself to the very power he once preached against. When police arrived at his home with a warrant, Robert didn't resist. He simply said, "I knew this day would come." The courtroom was silent when Pastor Robert Morris finally stood trial. He looked frail, older than his years. The charges echoed like thunder: abuse, exploitation, fraud. When asked how he pled, Robert bowed his head and whispered, "I am guilty." Gasps filled the room. He confessed, not just to his crimes but to something deeper. "For years I preached light while living in darkness," he said. "I used God's name to hide my shame. I hurt people who trusted me." In the back row, Emily Carter sat silently, tears streaming down her face. She whispered a small prayer, not for him but for peace. The judge sentenced Robert Morris to years in prison. He didn't argue. He didn't cry. He just nodded and said softly, "I'm sorry." The man who once claimed to speak for God now faced the silence of his own sins. After the trial, the town of Cedar Hills felt hollow. The grand doors of Grace Fountain Church stayed locked for months. What was once a sanctuary now felt like a tomb. Outside, people gathered with candles. Some prayed for healing. Others demanded justice. Faith had been shaken to its core. Families argued, friends drifted apart, and many began questioning everything they believed in. But Emily, the girl who broke the silence, found strength again. She became an advocate for survivors, reminding others that speaking up is not rebellion. It's redemption. Through helping others, she began to heal herself. Robert's wife, Linda, eventually left town. She gave no interviews, made no statements. Only a few close friends said she moved somewhere quiet, to start over, far from the shadow of her husband's fall. Meanwhile, in prison, Robert Morris lived in near solitude. He rarely spoke, but he wrote letters to God, to his victims, to no one in particular. He never asked for forgiveness. He simply wrote. Months later, Grace Fountain Church reopened under new leadership. The new pastor refused to preach from a stage. Instead, he stood among the people. "Faith should never elevate a man above truth," he said. "It should lift truth above every man." Those words hit deep. They became the new foundation of the church, and of everyone still trying to believe again. Time moved on, but the memory of Pastor Robert lingered like a scar on the town's soul. The sound of church bells no longer brought joy, only reflection. Emily continued her mission, speaking at conferences and churches, helping others understand that real faith is not blind. "Faith," she said, "doesn't silence questions. It gives us courage to ask them." Years later, one of Robert's old letters was found among the church archives. It read, "I thought I was building a kingdom for God, but I was building a throne for myself. Power blinded me, and silence protected me. Truth destroyed me, and maybe that's what I needed." That letter became a haunting reminder for everyone who had once followed him. Because faith was never meant to worship a man. It was meant to worship God, even when truth hurts. In the end, Robert Morris's story wasn't just about a fallen pastor. It was about power, silence, and redemption. And the truth that sometimes, monsters wear robes of holiness. But even then, God's light can still shine through the cracks of the broken.